So today we're talking about Unit 8, Lesson 10, and we're still working with volume. Like I said, our next, yesterday and 3 more lessons are all dealing with volume, so we're really looking at in-depth volume calculation here. Our focus today is, today we're actually going to compute, which means we're going to use a formula, a mathematical formula, and we're going to compute the volume. And we're still sticking with rectangular prism. Okay, so remember, a rectangular prism is basically a rectangle that's been stretched out into a 3D shape. Okay. Compute means we're actually going to solve for volume. We're going to use a formula and plug in numbers for that formula. And volume is that space that it takes up. Okay. So just to review the vocabulary again. So what you see in your activity book, we're on page 287, are a bunch of different rectangular prisms. And what we're going to focus on are the different layers. So notice we have here in this first one, we have one layer. Okay. So we're looking at, it's just one flat layer. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 1, 2, 3, 4 on this side, 2 on this side. So how many boxes are there total? 8. So notice I took length times width to get 8. Now that's just with one layer. Okay. Now if we add another layer on top, I'm going to take the same 4 times 2, but this time what do I need to do to that in order to get all of those boxes counted? I need to multiply it by the number of layers there are. There's 1, 2 layers here. Okay, so since there are 2 layers, we're going to take 4 times 2, which is the length of one layer, or the area of one layer, and then we're going to multiply that by 2. So how many boxes are there total? 16. Okay, let's continue on to 6 layers. Let's skip. Okay, so here we still have 4 by 2. That's the area of one layer. But now we have 6 layers, so we're going to multiply it by 6. So 4 times 2 is 8, and 8 times 6 is 48. So how many boxes are in this rectangular prism? 48. Okay, so if you're following along, a formula for volume would be length times width times height. Okay, so just like we did here, we did length times width times the number of layers, which is the height. Okay, and that's shown here in your student activity book as well with those formulas. Okay. And then finally, just remember these are cubic units because it's a 3-dimensional shape. So we're talking about cubes that are used to fill up that shape. Okay. So if you move on to the next page, we want to look at this table. And notice these are different size rectangular prisms, and we've taken the boxes out. So the boxes are kind of a support to get us used to understanding, okay, it's length times width times height. But now if we look at these, the boxes are gone, and it's just the rectangular prism with labels on each side. So do we know what the length is? Yes. Do we know what the width is? Yes. Do we know what the height is? Yes, it tells us that information. Instead of counting boxes, it tells us that information. One thing I want you to make sure is that the units are all the same, that there are no conversions. So just look at this table real quick. If you glance at this entire table, are all the units the same for the prisms? For example, are all of these the same? Yes, those are all centimeters. Are all of these the same for this rectangular prism? Yes, this one. Yes, this one. Yes, and so on. Okay, so you're not having to do any conversions yet. Okay, so let's look at number 7 as the example. The length is labeled as 7 feet. So we fill in the table there. The width is labeled as 4 and the height is labeled as 5. So we take 7 times 4, length times width, and then we multiply that by the height to get a total of 140 cubic feet. So let's try number 8 together. What's the length? 6 what? Centimeters. What's the width? 15 centimeters. What's the height? 10 centimeters. So our formula is going to be the quantity of 6 times 15 times 10. Okay. Do the parentheses really make a difference here? No, because order of operations, multiplication is going to happen in that same order from right to left anyways. So it doesn't really make a difference. It's just teaching you length times width of one layer, and then how many layers are there, what's the height. Okay, so it's just helping you with that. So what is 6 times 15? And then 80 times 10? 800 what? Cubic centimeters. Okay, another way you can write cubic centimeters is a cm with a 3 up at the top. Why a 3 instead of a 4? Because a cube seems like it should be 4 because we're looking at 3 measurements. So we are multiplying centimeters times centimeters times centimeters. Centimeters times centimeters times centimeters. How many times are we multiplying it? 3. 1, 2, 3. That's why you use that 3 exponent for cubic centimeters. Yes. Oh, sorry. Wait, what?
6 is 30, not 20, so it would be 9.
Sorry, this one. Thank you for correcting that. I was going by what you guys were saying. Oh yeah, because 15 times 2 is 30. So that would make sense. Okay. Yeah, I was just using 15 times 2 is 30, and we're doing it times 6, so it'd be 30 times 3, which would be 90. So thank you for correcting that. So 900 cubic centimeters. Okay. So on your homework tonight, this is what you're going to be looking at. Is they're going to start you off with some cubes, counting and making sure you understand the layers. And then you're going to finish up with some like this that are without the cubes, just giving you the measurements. These are also known as the dimensions, which will help you in tomorrow's CGI problem, which I totally am challenging you with tomorrow.
Oh, please.
It's a good one. It's a good one. You'll like it.